Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Beginner's Guide. It's your host, Cobalt Kraken, and today we're just taking a little look at, I guess you could say, let's look at, at this game. The description is a narrative video game from the creators of the Stanley Parable, which I had thought I wanted to play, but I replayed it for a little bit. It's aged, for sure. But it's only about an hour and a half long. It's no goal or no objectives. It tells the story of a person struggling to deal with something they don't understand. And just as a little after note, or, at the time of editing this, just for you all, it's a very visual game. There's a narrator, and it's very slow paced. It's not going to be a whole action-packed thing. It's very cerebral. It's a very cerebral game. So if you're not into that, it just might not be for you. But either way, hope you enjoy it, and let's get back to it. The audio is indeed on. Okay, I don't know if I can get this down, but I'll try my best.
Hi there. Thank you very much for playing the Beginner's Guide. My name is Davey Wreden. I wrote the Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011.
Okay.
We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here.
All right, I'm down.
It's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day, he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveywreden@gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game.
Professional introduction.
As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
Yeah, you usually don't get this kind of stuff with most games, obviously. The game developer doesn't come from the skies and tell you about it. Oh. Whisper machine. Okay.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
I'm assuming we can't go through that way, yeah. Okay, there's no sound. It's very, very soft. Can't reload.
Security call breached. Hostile alien life form inbound.
But I can't reload.
It kind of looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere. But then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets.
That's
But
what I'm
ultimately,
finding
we
out,
don't
yeah.
really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Enemy force neutralized. Begin ship evacuation.
It's very, very tight quarters.
I love how
But,
you can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
That is a pretty nice little skybox. Yeah. It's not bad. I mean, I can see this being like a Gmod level or something back in the day. Which, considering what time this was made, it's probably what it would have been.
Apparently, this space station has a labyrinth on it. Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it.
No.
Or, if you'd really like to solve the labyrinth, you're welcome to do that too.
Thanks, champ. I would like to do that. So this is the door we came from. No, it's not the door we came from. But, whatever. Onward we will go. Do I remember how to get back? No. Most likely no. Okay, there we go.
Okay, this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Okay. Very
Hey,
nice.
you there, in the engine room. You could save us all. That beam is powering the whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam.
Just
It's
sacrifice
so much to ask, but
ourselves?
for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
I mean, sure, yeah.
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead.
No. It takes you through the map. Very odd.
The beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it. Like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
Alright, I'm game. The past was behind her, huh? Okay. Well, I can't move. So that already tells me something.
So try walking backwards.
Oh.
Yep, in this game you can only walk backwards.
That's very interesting. It's unique, yeah.
So it's a short and relatively minimalist
Future
experiment
Konami
combining motion and narrative. It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. Code is trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope.
Indeed. Oh. Don't want to miss this. Where the future is anyways behind her, how will she find the strength? To confront it.
It's a short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that. Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
Okay. Very limited space I can move in. It's just shoehorned me here. You are now entering. It's like a Slender Man vibe. Does the sign say anything else? No, it's just a basic old sign. It's nothing else. Oh, and then
And
nothing.
that's it.
Oh.
Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games, and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting.
December 2008. Nonsense
Oftentimes,
is
Coda
nearly
would
every
put
direction.
bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games.
Oh, very nice.
I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do?
Indeed. Well, I'll do some exploring
I know
first.
it's tempting, but there's actually nothing over here. Sorry.
A shame. That's what I always liked about the Stanley Parable people. You know, just whatever you do, there's always something narrated for it. So it knows how everybody's going to play, you know. Some people like to explore like I do. Like I think they're going to hide little fancies. And probably if you keep looking, he'd still say something. Okay, we're slowing down.
Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
I don't think I will. We'll sit here for a second and see what he has to say about that. Give it a couple seconds. Anything? No? He doesn't care? Five more. Alright. Good enough to me. Stand on an X. Oh gosh, there's a lot of text here. You're in a small room until you realize you can just walk through the walls.
A room that's warm and nice and filled with little ideas for games.
Stranger appears. You walk around talking to people from pursuing their hopes and dreams. You are a gate.
Coda would often tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get there.
Live on a boat taking orders from a captain. The captain is always wrong. Game filled with chairs except one chair is floating. Oh, it took me out. 2009. Ready, set, fish. Okay. Small room. Alright. Got some, I'm failing to get the game Half-Life feel. Maybe the orange and gray. Wooden stairs. A little interesting. What is this?
Well, this is new for Coda. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it.
How simple is that?
don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon. We're gonna see it a lot.
Very good. I've been seeing these 3 dots in most of the games, and I'm wondering what that is. A calling card of this supposed coda? Seems a little too close to coder, some of the codes, to me. But that's a personal opinion.
So that seems to be it, right? You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough.
Nothing here.
All right, now I'm going to modify the game again so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
Yeet. Oh, no. It's terrible. So many paths.
How about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world. Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
To observe? I don't know. January 2009. Okay, we're back to the Slender Man deal. Walking. You are now exiting. Okay.
Aha. So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
All right. March 2009. The Great and Lovely Descent. All right. Nice white background with some houses, or like a cafe.
Let's talk about video game development for a second.
Okay.
Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development.
Is this the Streetwise?
To make all of these games, Coda is using an engine called Source. Like all engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly.
Yeah.
One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well. The tools available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in Coda's games to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
I'd like to go through that, but apparently we cannot. Okay, we've fallen. I'm assuming that's what we're supposed to do, but we'll never know. I mean, I'm sure it is since we're down here. This very nice corridor. I can see this being like a puzzle-esque game to go around solving different things. Okay, now we have places you'd keep cattle or something. Okay. I guess we're going in here, aren't we? Oh. Can't get off. I guess I have to go in here. Huh.
This prison, funny enough, in Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go. If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that.
Yeah, it'd probably be the best. Okay.
This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games that was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere. There wasn't.
I see. I like the staircase designs. It's definitely cool. Very modern-esque mansion type. The glass going around it. It's a neat little thing. Got some lights coming through, but that's how it goes with these games. Another one of his calling signs. Something. It's like I'm on ice or something. Okay.
It's the puzzle again, with the exact same solution as the last time. There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over.
Apologize for that. The audio is pretty loud and I can't change that. It only lets me change the full audio, nothing else. Headphones. Okay. So yeah, if you're listening to this, use headphones. That's what the audio is going to be for. Okay. Listen. You there, did you come from up above?
Here, Coda begins using a kind of dialogue system that he fashioned out of the engine's chat capabilities. Use the 1, 2, 3 buttons on your keyboard to respond.
What was up there? World stamped in whiteness. That's the world above. You've been there. Now this is important. Did you have to get through a puzzle with 2 doors and switches? I did. Yes. Perfect. Now please tell us how you solved it. Solution. Tell us how to get to the other side. The only options, I don't remember. I didn't solve it, or you don't want to go over there. We'll just go with 1. I don't remember. You must think harder. Try to remember. It's so important that we get out of here. We must escape this prison. Can you think harder? There must be something more. Tell us how to reach the end. Alright. And nothing else, so we must leave. On to the next group of people. Next trial. How did you get here? Where's the puzzle you had to pass through? Yes. There was a puzzle. Not to get in this room. Find the black space between the doors more interesting. I have seen it. Yes, 2. I remember feeling strange. Don't think too hard about it, they say. You'll see it soon again. Or again soon. And on we go.
And so we make one last descent down to the final floor of the level.
It's like an apartment dorm area kind of deal.
It's a lamppost.
Indeed, it is a lamppost.
Okay, I can't tell you quite why, but for some reason, Coda fixates on this lamppost.
It is in the center.
It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something. He wants a destination, which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination. we're going to see it in the work as well. His games are just going to become a lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind them. And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
Well, that's going to do it for our Let's Look At of the Beginner's Guide. Usually I keep it quick and concise, but I was really torn on how to end this one, because I did play the whole thing. It's an hour and 35 minutes long or so. But, after watching it for the second time, I played through it and then I'm watching it as I'm editing right here. I feel like it gives you a lot more of an insight, because this game is definitely like, I don't know what you say, it's more philosophical than anything else. So, yeah, if you do want to see the full thing, I'd highly recommend playing it. It's $10. And if you don't want to, just let me know and I can throw the rest of it out. Put the other, hour or so. Because I was really torn on whether I should leave it up or not. I think it's a really interesting game. At first watch through or first playthrough might be like, okay, it's interesting, but definitely the second time around it starts to make a little more sense. It's one of those kinds. But if you did like it and how it was, if it's interesting to you, click that like button, subscribe, let me know what you think, or if you want to see the rest of it. Most of all, hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.